The Bash in Berlin is over and we've got feelings, so we must come to you with a Notsam Wrestling emergency podcast, instant reaction to Bash in Berlin. And when I say we, it is not because I'm one of these weirdo conceited people that must refer to themselves as the royal we. It is because I am joined by the one and only Megan Morant. Hello, Megan.
Hello, Sam. Weirdo confirmed, but not conceited. So I'll give you that.
Thank you very, very much. That's actually more than most will give me.
Okay.
So I appreciate it very much. How did we feel? How do you feel? What did we think of Bash in Berlin?
I enjoyed Bash in Berlin.
Yes.
I mean, it got off to a hot start,
Yeah.
and what a way to finish as well. The crowd was rocking the entire time. These international shows deliver in a way from a crowd perspective.
Yeah.
And I don't want to hate on the U.S., but it's different. It is different.
It is different. I mean, it's louder. It's just
Yes.
louder. There's a thing on the screen that tells you how loud it is.
Yes.
It's louder. And we're great here in America. We can just go to shows and be louder. That's okay.
That's great.
There was a thing that was going around on the internet, specifically before this show, because I think people are really wrapping their heads around the fact that this is the new norm, which is the 5-match premium live event.
Mm-hmm.
You know, 4 to 6 match, whatever. But,
Yep.
you know, the shorter match card of a premium live event. This is something we're not used to seeing, especially, I mean, before WrestleMania went to 2 nights. When you go back to like WrestleMania 35, you were looking at like, what was it? I believe it was a 15-hour premium live event. How do you feel about the 5-match shows and what it creates?
Well, I like it
Yeah.
because you're left kind of wanting more, and each match serves its purpose.
Yeah.
Each match needs to be there. And with a premium live event every single month, you're already building towards the next one, right? Like, we're already kind of looking ahead to Bad Blood, and I think there's something to be said about not having a card that is too crowded.
Yeah, and also whether you know it or not, you're building to the next one,
Yeah.
meaning that like there are stories that are being told, there are seeds being planted that they were started being planted a week or two before Bash in Berlin,
Mm-hmm.
but it's for the payoff that comes at Bad
We're
Blood.
not rushing anything.
Exactly.
We're letting them cook, which here on Not Sam Wrestling, we love to do.
We love letting them cook. We don't cook. We let
No.
them cook.
I do not cook. My husband cooks.
That's exactly right. You let him cook.
Yeah, just let him cook.
Let him cook.
Do his
yeah.
thing.
Yeah, and I think I think that I prefer that to the bounce from premium live event to premium live event to premium live event, where those become the kind of goal post that you're just going. Now, some stories require that,
Yeah.
but other stories are like, no, we can place this here. And I also think that it makes it so that like the Uncle Howdy, Chad Gable stuff, for example, that can happen on Raw. And when you have a Raw main event that is Uncle Howdy versus Chad Gable, that also feels bigger because it's a real main event. It's a real culmination of a story on Raw, as opposed to going like, well, I know that's the Raw main event, but that's really just going to be a schmoz that they can pay off at a pay-per-view.
And similarly, last night on SmackDown, we got to see Nia Jax defend her title
Right.
against Michin in an awesome street fight match.
Right.
We didn't need that on the PLE.
No,
we got
you-
a great SmackDown main event.
Yeah, it ends up being a SmackDown main event. It's a serious main event. And also, like you said, it starts kind of planting seeds. What's going on with Tiffany and Nia? Is that something that carries over to Bad Blood? So let's not talk about this. Let's talk about what we saw tonight at Bash in Berlin. And I think, at least coming off of the show, and partly because it was the last match on the show, but also because I just think it was so impactful, was Randy Orton versus Gunther in the World Heavyweight title match. It was Gunther's first title defense, right? Because he won it at SummerSlam. He hasn't
Yeah.
defended it on TV.
He is not. This was the Megan Morant match because I called it. Just all right.
By the
There we
way-
go. I'm giving myself my flowers, and then I will be done.
I was going to give you credit for it, but you wanted to make sure we got there straight up.
Yep.
Let's recall that it's Megan Morant. That, I mean, you can go back a month ago, right after SummerSlam. I was like, I guess Randy Orton would be an opponent.
Maybe.
But yes, you called it, and you were right on the money. And look, as it turned out, and I think Randy Orton has this amazing way of not only delivering every time, but somehow being so dependable that you forget. Like, we'll have that conversation, and it's like, of course Randy Orton's the guy. Number one, because seeds were planted at King of the Ring, and you know, whether that was, not that that was on purpose, but everything counts, whether you do it on purpose or not. So that still needs to be paid off, but also because when you've got Gunther, and it's time to sort of begin to define what this world heavyweight title reign is, and how is it different from the 666 days that he spent as an Intercontinental Champion, who does that? And of course the answer is Randy Orton. The answer is always going to be Randy Orton.
And if you forgot or had any doubt about Randy Orton, it didn't take long for you to remember, because his entrance was incredible. The 4K shot on him and the crowd singing his song.
Yeah.
I mean, I kind of thought, because we're in Berlin and this is where Gunther is from, that it's going to be, you know, a Gunther heavy crowd. But the people love Randy Orton no matter where you go.
And that was so fascinating. And it does go back to that shot, which I call it the 8K shot. People call it the 8K shot. But like...
Is it 8K? Is it 4K?
I mean, the thing is that it's... And
it doesn't matter. You just say a number confidently and everyone goes, okay.
It's 56K.
Probably.
It's like my modem speed.
Sure.
Yeah.
Great.
No, I mean, look, Hot Dog gets all upset about it. He's like, it's not 8K. It's not about the resolution. It's just because there's a soft focus in the back. And it's like, shut up,
It's portrait mode.
dude.
It's portrait mode.
It's portrait, yeah.
That's what we're doing. Portrait mode entrance.
That really just strips it away from like, you know, they put their cameras in portrait mode so they could shoot Randy's entrance. But there was that word again, that aura that surrounds Randy. And just when you've forgotten, when he comes out in red for the first time in forever, you know, reminding Bill McKenna and Mattel that you can make more Randy Orton action figures.
And Sam will buy them.
Of course I will. Bring him the bathtub. And then...
It's all good in the tub.
And there's Randy. And to me, what made this match really great was that instead of telling the story of like Gunther being this big badass dude that's, you know, fighting this guy that's been around for 20 years and oh, Randy, he didn't know what to expect. And Randy, you flipped it on its head. And it really proved how good Randy is, because he may be one of the few people that can actually do this. And it helped that they were in Berlin, which, I mean, months ago, I said Gunther would get the hometown reaction from Berlin. And people were like, he's from Austria. I said, yeah, I know where he's from, okay? Relax. But I'm done attacking people. But I think that the fact that Randy Orton was able to work in a way where it seemed like Gunther was the one who wasn't prepared, where you almost felt the audience, right? And they were never going to boo Randy Orton, and they just won't. But they love Gunther. Mm-hmm. And so let's tell this story of maybe Gunther can't beat Randy Orton. Who on the roster, after everything Gunther has done, right? And this is going back to the matches he had with Sheamus, the matches that he had with Drew, everything that he did with the Intercontinental Championship. The idea that the whole story of Sami Zayn at WrestleMania was nobody can beat Gunther. And still, Randy Orton is able to tell this story of Gunther as an underdog and make you believe that because he's Randy Orton, yep, Gunther is the underdog.
Yeah, I think a part of it has to do with Randy Orton looking to make history, right? Looking to become a 15-time world champion. And there were those moments where you and I looked at each other when we were watching it. Gunther has Randy in a hold, and Randy is just inches away from being able to put Gunther in an RKO, right? Like,
oh yeah, like when he had
the RKO,
when he had the sleeper hold on him,
yes.
And Randy was just kind of crafting his arms around so he could slowly, because we're so used to seeing the RKO just get snapped on and boom.
Yes.
And you just start to see like slowly getting his arm in this position.
And it's like he's gonna hit the RKO.
And then getting his arm in the other position.
He's gonna do it.
Yeah.
Because it's over so quickly with Randy Orton, right?
Yeah.
I mean, you know, Gunther leading up to this, it's like just one mistake, right? I don't get caught off guard. And if he does get caught off guard, boom, you know.
But and then Randy hit an RKO. Gunther kicked out of the RKO.
Yes.
But yeah, this idea of, after everything Gunther's done, being treated not only as the sort of hometown hero, but the idea of oh, maybe Gunther can't conquer Randy Orton. And all professional wrestling logic would tell you that Gunther is always going to tell the story of the person who needs to be conquered, as opposed to the person who does the conquering. And the fact that Randy, who, is not that much, is around the same size as Gunther. I mean, I guess he's bigger now because he's as big as he's ever been.
Nutella. Because
of all the Nutella.
All of the Nutella has made Randy Orton massive.
I already had 2 jars before this one.
Wow.
But, and then that Gunther, though, as a performer, is able to shift into that mode where it's like, it's one thing to be able to convince everybody that you could kill anybody, that you could just steamroll anybody that steps in front of you. It's like that right there is an accomplishment. But the fact that you can do that, and then also, when the time's appropriate, be the guy that needs to fight from beneath is awesome. And it's truly, that's the thing that makes Gunther so special, is that it's twofold, is that he wrestles in a way where he's simply trying to win all the time. Like it's a real easy goal. He just wants to win the match. But also, he can shift that motivation to be whatever the story is supposed to be. And in this case, it was entirely different from the stories that he's told leading to this point.
I mean, we saw in the entire Intercontinental title run, it was David versus Goliath. I mean, that was...
And he was Goliath.
Exactly.
And this one, it was a similar story, except he's David all of a sudden.
There were points in the match where he was David.
Yes.
Right?
Yes. And most, I would say, if you look at that match, because he had it was almost like 4 acts, right? Well, I guess, so it was like Act 1 was all Randy.
Yes.
Act 2 was like Gunther gets in a little bit. That was a short act. Act 3, it went back to being all Randy. And then Gunther was able to put the sleeper hold on. But not only the fact that the match ended on a sleeper hold, which is so...
Definitive,
but also old school. How many people could make a sleeper hold feel interesting?
Gunther could. I mean, Gunther has that old school vibe to him, right? He's
Absolutely.
no nonsense.
Yeah.
And I think if there's going to be a champion that wins in an old school way, it's Gunther.
But it's also the idea that he tried to get it on. He didn't have it on all the way. He kind of reverses into that kind of side headlock. Randy's able to get out of it. Then he realizes, I need to get this sleeper on because that's what I need to get on. And there's this sequence of him trying to apply the sleeper hold. And you just don't see that in professional wrestling. And it's far more, right? It's far more in the style of MMA, which I think is good because as MMA has become popularized, people become more familiar with what a real fight can look like.
Yes.
And this idea that you realize in that last sequence that Gunther is trying to apply the sleeper, and Randy keeps coming up with ways to avoid it, but Gunther keeps coming back. And eventually he is able to get it on, and it's not some swerve, and it's not some
gotcha moment.
Gotcha over here. Well, now I'm in a small package. Nope. The answer is he finally gets the sleeper hold on. And the reason that Randy was trying to avoid it so much is because once it's locked on, Randy goes night-night.
That's it. I did love the chop to the back of Randy's neck as well. We are so used to seeing the chest chops.
Yeah.
This was a different type of chop, and I loved it. And it also helped him get that sleeper in.
Yeah. And then Gunther still kind of selling the right hand after the match, so he had to kind of shake with the left.
A sign of respect.
Yeah, still had to respect him.
Yes.
So my question, and I had a question going into the night, which was, I kind of expected Gunther and Randy to go on first, which was kind of a weird pick based on the fact that they were in Berlin, but it was because I thought Gunther would get that kind of hero's welcome and that it would become confusing for the TV product, which isn't just Germany, it's the whole world, meaning that when Roman Reigns got booed in Philly, years and years and years and years ago when he won the Royal Rumble, it was like, well, that's just Philly. And it's like, sure, that's just Philly. But once everybody saw it, and everybody did because it's a premium live event, now everybody's booing Roman Reigns. So the idea is that everybody who's going to Raw on Monday night watch Bash in Berlin.
Yeah.
And they all felt that same energy that the crowd in Berlin gave Gunther. There's no doubt in my mind that when Gunther walks to the ring on Monday, he's getting cheered.
Yeah.
The question is, does he kind of have that ability to very quickly shift that and get people booing him again.
You know what I think can help is Ludwig Kaiser,
Mm.
who we got to see a little bit in his ring introduction.
Yeah.
His match introduction. I love Samantha Irvin. She is the GOAT. I know that gets thrown around a lot, but truly, she's amazing. I love Ludwig Kaiser taking the mic from her in the way that he did. Just like the mannerism with his hand. It was so...
When it just flashes across the camera.
Yes, it was so heelish, and the way he holds the mic and speaks into it. Obviously, he gets a positive reaction. We're in Germany.
Yeah.
But I do think he kind of makes you go, oh, I don't like these two, right? Like,
Yeah,
you
and
see Ludwig's face and you
that's a
go,
good call.
not these two.
That's a good call, because he did on SmackDown. He got a positive reaction too when he was in that match with LA Knight. It was like, oh, these fans are cheering Ludwig,
Yeah.
but they ain't cheering Ludwig Kaiser on Raw.
They
That's not gonna
can't.
happen. It's not
They
gonna
can't.
happen. No, he's too
It's
good.
the eyebrows.
Yeah.
It's the mannerisms.
You know what it is? It's when a guy whose jaw is that chiseled, with abs like that, just 0% body
I
fat,
don't like him.
is looking at you like he's better than you, and you know he is. It's irritating. It's really, I mean, it's a shot to the gut is what it is. It's impossible to like a guy who thinks he's better than you, who actually is better than you.
Yeah.
Especially with a foreign accent.
This will be a new journey, for Gunther, because after that match in the main event, how could you boo Gunther? I think he'll be able to get Denver against him pretty quick.
I have to tell you, I really think that he'll get cheered going to the ring, and within 5 minutes, he'll get the crowd to boo him
So
again.
awesome.
He's just such a professional. And with pro wrestling, like, and his sort of understanding of it and the way he treats it, like, it's not just about the in-ring. It's about taking the audience on the ride that you want them to go on. And I have no sort of worry about that whatsoever. I don't know who his next opponent will be.
I mean, we got the Intercontinental Championship tournament going on.
That's true. I mean, look, at some point, I feel like Gunther's going to turn babyface and Ludwig Kaiser is going to be an opponent
Yeah.
for Gunther.
And I
don't
love
think
that.
I do too. I don't think we're there yet.
No. I mean, Jey Uso, he won his round
He did, but do we want to?
already.
Yeah, I feel like Jay Gunther is down the road
I'm with you.
a little bit. I mean, I don't know if he just won it from Damian Priest at SummerSlam. I mean, I don't know. I didn't know it was going to be Randy Orton. So I don't see another Randy Gunther match happening.
I mean, Randy goes back to SmackDown now.
Yeah. And we've got the definitive answer from King of the Ring.
Without
And
a
what
doubt.
could be more definitive than putting somebody out with a sleeper hold?
Not much.
Yeah.
That's
yeah.
it.
Well, we also saw the women's tag team championship match, which was Bianca Belair and Jade Cargill winning the titles back from Alba Fire and Isla Dawn. And I walked in thinking one of two things has to happen here, right? Because Alba and Isla won the championship in a triple threat. Then they defended the championship in a triple threat and retained. So now they get the singles match. I was like, if Jade and Bianca don't win at the Bash in Berlin, they got to split up. Like, because at that point, because it's almost like Jade and Bianca are so good and look like such stars that if they're not champions, what are they doing?
There was a moment I thought maybe it could happen too, because I was watching the Countdown show and there was an interview backstage, and I think it was Kathy doing the interview. She'd asked them both about their opponents, Alba and Isla, and Bianca really put over Alba and Isla. And Jade said, "Look, B, I know you're trying to be nice, but those are our titles and we're getting them back." And I was like, "Oh, we're seeing, two very different attitudes, definitive. And if they don't win, maybe there's something to that." But I felt like it was one of the first times we've seen them have
Friction?
Not friction. I just think like a different message. It's all, and not that that's bad. It's like,
Yeah.
hey, B, you're being respectful, but we're going to get them. And, B can always be like, yeah, we are, right? Like but it felt like there's two distinct members of the team.
Right. That they have two, that they're different people. They're not,
Yes.
it's not just one collective, it's two individuals.
Like we're both uber athletic.
Yes.
We both look like superheroes, but we're different. And I hope that we start to see more, differences between them. Not that I want them to break up,
Right.
but I think it's just good to have two different people in a tag team.
I think that's good, and especially good for Jade Cargill because we all know Bianca so well at this point, right? And she's got such a well-documented singles career. I mean, she's a world champion. We know who Bianca Belair is. Jade Cargill hasn't had that singles run in WWE. That said, my whole thing is that I don't necessarily want Jade or Bianca to be a villain right now.
No, I don't either.
Right?
I want to know more about Jade, though. That point, right?
Yeah.
Like, I mean, I could look at her all day long.
Sure.
I want to know more about her.
Sure. And and maybe there is a version of this where eventually they go their separate ways and it's, they're not, it's not in a combative way. But in the meantime, I do kind of feel like, I felt like as much as their first title reign was dominant, it wasn't as long as I thought it was going to be. Like, I was surprised when Isla and Alba won.
I was too.
And I kind of want this one. I want them to take it far, but I also would love to see that women's tag division get significantly elevated by a reign with those two. Those are two people that can have a premium live event, pay-per-view match, whatever you want to call it, most shows. Like, you can put those two, and it's like, oh, there's a Bianca Belair Jade Cargill match on this show that belongs on a premium live event. And when you can do that, it takes the women's tag team championship, and now that, because every title's not going to be defended. The U.S. title wasn't defended. The Intercontinental title wasn't defended. The WWE neither of the women's championships were defended. So it's like the fact that the women's tag team championship gets defended now puts that on a pedestal because it's on a premium live event. And like you said, with 5 matches, it's now limited.
Yes.
Right? To how
we get more women on the card.
How much is going to be showcased?
I'm always here for that.
Yes.
More,
yes.
And I mean, from watching the product, you can tell they're starting to build up that tag division a little. We have Pure Fusion Collective.
Right.
I mean, we have what Shayna and Zoe have been doing. I know they're part of Pure Fusion Collective, and then Blair Davenport entering the mix, and I know she's on the other side. But just thinking of all these people and how they can be used.
Yeah.
I'm excited.
And I also think that Alba and Isla, even though they walked in as like, I don't think they're going to beat Bianca and Jade. I think they realized the opportunity that they had when they won the tag title at Clash. And if you really just strictly pay attention to those two and watch how much better they've gotten, whether it's promos, whether it's presentation, entrances, and then in ring on Bash in Berlin specifically, watching the amount of tag team moves that they had together. Watching that one moment where Alba Fire was, I want to say DDTing maybe Bianca and kicked Jade as she went, or vice versa. But whatever it was, it felt like they had built this kind of repertoire of moves that were specific for tag team matches. And I feel like that's what having Jade and Bianca in that division as the top of the division can do. It takes everybody that's in that division and goes, okay, there's now a new spotlight put on this because massive stars are the centerpiece of it. So now if we step up our game, it's going to elevate all of us.
I love it.
Yeah.
I love it.
Yeah.
I love women's wrestling. I love more people getting opportunities.
That's right. We saw some women on the show. We'll get there in a second, but it wasn't just the World Heavyweight title on the line. The show opened with the WWE Undisputed Championship match. Cody Rhodes versus Kevin Owens, the match that Cody Rhodes not only asked for, but insisted upon.
And Kevin Owens didn't at first want the match.
No, he did not. And it's really interesting to watch what's going on with Kevin Owens right now. Because it's almost like everything that we've been talking about, everything that we talked about here on Notsam Wrestling, everything that everybody's been talking about, which is this idea that Kevin Owens is not to be trusted. Kevin Owens turns on everybody. Kevin Owens, as fun as he is, as much as it's great that he's the only guy he's the only wrestler that watches the show. As much as all that's true, he's a bad guy. You know what I mean? He's a good guy.
Yeah.
He's a fun guy. He's a cool dude.
I mean, only bad guys can turn on Kofi Kingston.
He's a bad guy, this Kevin Owens, and he's always been a bad guy. You go to his NXT, the first takeover that he was ever on.
Bad guy.
Bad guy. He jumps his best friend when his best friend wins the NXT championship. Bad guy. You know? I mean, throughout it, Chris Jericho clicks his pen and goes, why is my name on the list? Because you got to get your friends with a bad guy. Is Kevin Owens a bad
We forgive,
guy?
we don't forget.
That's right. That's right. And I feel like this is the layers of storytelling that we get in this era. You texted me and you were like, I thought we were going to get a turn there.
I did.
Yeah, and I get that.
I did. I thought today was the day Kevin Owens turns.
And to an extent, I did too, but I would have thought that that would be the last match. When I started as the first match, I said, huh. But as I watch, I go, no. This is the new sort of levels that we're working at, and I think that...
And you responded to my text, let them cook.
That's let them cook is the methodology that we have to do. And it is funny that people understand that I use that. That's not just a podcast phrase.
No,
This is
a life motto.
Yeah, I'm texting you. Let them cook. By the way, don't text to drive. so those are my two things. Let them cook. Don't text to drive. So I love the idea of sometimes things are predictable because they're logical.
Mm-hmm.
You go, this is the direction that this should go in. And swerves are always great. It's always good to find a reason to swerve. But there are often times, and there are times throughout the history of professional wrestling, where you have swerves that were just done for the sake of a swerve, just to surprise people. Why are we doing this? Because they think we're going to do that, so let's do this. And it's like, yeah, but this doesn't make any sense.
Well, gotcha
Right.
journalism.
It's gotcha journalism
Yeah.
is what it is. Yes,
Yeah.
yes. I think what we're doing here is telling these logical stories, even if we kind of can see where they're going. But we're doing it in a way that is thoughtful. And we're doing it in a way that is this logical progression and maybe the way people actually behave, as opposed to being these like over-the-top, cartoonish, like, what? You did this? Now I will turn on you and I am evil. It's like, no, you're watching this slow progression. And if you're paying attention to every detail, that's what this we're slow cooking now, okay?
Yeah.
We're not microwave anymore. WWE, God bless them, and I love WWE. Historically, there have been eras where we have relied on that microwave. Okay? When it comes to cooking, we have relied on, and microwave food can be delicious. I'm not sitting here hating on Hungry Man.
You're not above a microwave.
I'm not above a microwave.
But when Triple H took over, I think he bought a green egg, and we are slow cooking on the smoker, baby.
Let's
and
get some
boy,
sponsors.
does it smell good?
Yes.
Because Kevin Owens doesn't turn at Bash in Berlin, does that mean that Kevin Owens isn't turning at all?
No.
I don't think so. We took many steps forward in the story of Kevin Owens and Cody Rhodes.
Because Kevin Owens watches the show. Kevin Owens knows what we know, which is Kevin Owens is a bad guy.
Mm-hmm.
And Kevin Owens is fighting that bad guy. And he's saying to Cody, don't do this to me. Don't turn me into this guy. I left him behind. I don't want to be this guy anymore. Cody goes, you get the WWE Championship match. Kevin goes, don't give me the championship match. I don't want it. And Cody goes, nope, giving it to you. And, all right, whatever.
You deserve it.
He goes, Cody, your knee was hurt on the live tour. Your knee's hurt. Cody's like, no, it's not. He goes, I know your knee's hurt. He goes, no, it's not hurt. Okay, I know your knee's hurt. What happens? Cody's knee gives out.
Mm-hmm.
And Kevin goes, God, do I want to kick that knee? Ooh, I want to kick that knee, but I'm not going to kick that knee, right? And then
Perfect opportunity for Kevin Owens to hit the powerbomb off the apron.
he wants to, slam that spine on the apron. God, I want to slam that spine on the apron, but I
Wade
can't.
Barrett is telling him, slam that spine off the apron.
And he says, shut up, Wade.
Shut the hell up. Don't do this to me. First him, now
Yeah.
you.
Yeah. He's like, I already got the devil on my shoulder. I don't need this British guy over here agreeing with the devil on my shoulder.
We are watching Kevin Owens go through the struggle
Yes.
of who he was, who he is,
He
always is, and who he is now.
I feel like what we're watching is Kevin Owens living the life of the person he wants to be.
Yeah.
And the person that he is going, no, we're not done. we are not done. He's sitting there. You know who he is? He's the Green Goblin in that first Spider-Man movie. And all he's trying to do is just be cool. I'm just trying to be cool. I got my son. He's best friends with Peter Parker. I'm trying to be cool. And that mask is talking to him. We're not cool, Kevin. We're not cool at all. He's like, oh, I know you're right. I know you're right, mask. And Kevin knows if he had listened to the Green Goblin mask, who is the real Kevin Owens, he'd be the WWE champion right now.
He would.
And Kevin Owens, he raised Cody's hand. There's this moment where Cody tried to raise Kevin's hand, and Kevin said, no, do not raise my hand, because I did not win that match. This story is so far from over. And I've been saying this from the beginning, and I know you've heard me say it, but like, I love the idea that this is the slow progression of Kevin Owens turning, right? Mm-hmm. And I feel like because it's being done slowly, it can take us through Bad Blood, maybe into Survivor Series. And just as we're getting towards that end of the year, Cody can get done with Kevin Owens. Go, Randy, can you believe how maniacal Kevin Owens became? And then Randy turns on Cody too. Because
Cody, when you have what everybody wants, you can't have friends.
No. What do you pick? Friends? Or do you want to finish the story? Because guess what? When you finish the story, you had every guy in the locker room putting your hand in the air going, good for you, Cody. You get that for one night. Because the next morning, everybody that was in that ring with you is looking at that title the same way Randy Orton was looking at that title during every locker room vignette that you saw. I think we didn't see the full Kevin Owens turn because this is the slow downward spiral.
It's more realistic
of Kevin Owens.
It's more realistic.
Yeah. And
better.
The argument, and Kevin Owens will be able to make the argument. You did this to me, Cody.
I didn't want to be this person.
I wanted to be a good guy.
I was trying to be a good guy.
And look what you did to me.
You sucked me back in.
Like a succubus. I think that's what they do.
A succulent?
Succubus.
Okay. All right, we'll go with it.
He wants to be a good guy. He wants to do the right thing. But Cody just rubbing that title in his face. Hey, Kevin, how'd you like a rematch? Oh, don't give me a rematch, Cody. Don't do it. Yeah, I can't wait.
It's great. And, I think we all sort of thought when it was Cody versus Kevin, oh, another respect match. This is so much more than a respect match.
Absolutely more. Hey, what do you think Kevin whispered to Cody on SmackDown?
Didn't they say?
I don't know.
I thought they had said it. It was, but I don't remember. Sorry. I think
Good
they
luck,
said
champ.
I think they said it on the Countdown show, but now I forgot everything because we just watched 4 hours of wrestling. So
well,
I apologize, but I do think it was mentioned on the Countdown. So
okay.
I'll go back and watch.
So will I. We'll get there on Notsam Wrestling. So we also, of course, talk about personal rivalries. Dominic Mysterio and Liv Morgan versus Damian Priest and Rhea Ripley.
Your
Dominic,
guy.
my guy. My guy.
Your guy.
My daddy Dom. It's not creepy when I say that, is it?
Just a little.
Okay,
Yeah.
a little bit. Showing up in the, I don't know if you caught this, I feel like a nice tribute gear to La Parka. Mm-hmm. Great luchador that Dominic Mysterio was tributing. He posted a photo on his Instagram of, I believe it was Viano 5 earlier this week.
Dom's gear is always a tribute. And I love that.
Yeah, it is.
It's great.
It is. It is. I mean, everything about Dominic is so fantastic. But Rhea Ripley and Damian Priest both showing up, looking like stars. I do love that halfway through the match, whenever it was, that you had this moment of Rhea and Dom facing off.
Well, because we've talked about it, Sam. You've talked about it on Not Sam Wrestling. But what is awesome about this mixed tag team match is you could go, well, Rhea can also beat the crap out of Dom.
Yes.
Not only can she beat Liv Morgan, but
Right.
she can beat Dom. And I was wondering, are we going to get a moment of that, right? Are we going to get to see Rhea and Dom? Is she going to get her hands on him?
Because it's so rare that we get that intergender stuff, but also that's because it's so rare that we get a female that it's like, oh no, that dude is in big trouble.
And that's exactly what you felt when you saw those two in the ring together.
Absolutely. Absolutely. So
And Dom's mustache, oh, it was so perfect. He was
he looked
scared
great.
out of his mind.
Oh. So, yeah, I mean, but I love too when he's like going for the hug. Like, come on, mommy.
We've been through so much together.
I
Come
know.
on.
I know.
You love me. That's the stud in Dom. He's
Of
like,
course.
I can win her back.
Yeah.
No problem. I got this.
And I thought he was for a second because he's irresistible to these women.
He's gorgeous.
I saw the way you were looking at him.
Gorgeous.
Gorgeous man. And then Rhea Ripley like punches Liv Morgan in the face. He's like, oh boy,
He's like, I am screwed.
this is not going well. And yeah, and Rhea decides to respond to his request for a hug with an absolute beatdown on
good.
Dominic Mysterio. And it really was like, it wasn't like hinted at. It was like, nope, Rhea Ripley is beating up Dominic Mysterio right now. So I had kind of thought that, and this was, I think, the only match that I called totally wrong, which I thought that we were going to get Dom and Liv sneaking one by Rhea and Priest. Like we were going to get another, not quite the anger of SummerSlam, because that was the big reveal that Liv and Dom were together, but that's sort of like that look of frustration on the face of Damian Priest and Rhea Ripley, especially because you were going to get the Judgment Day involved. Judgment Day was involved, but it was Rhea Ripley and Damian Priest that were able to still come out on top. And I think for a couple of reasons. I think that, well, number one, in hindsight, it's almost like if Dominic Mysterio and Liv Morgan win, then Damian Priest still has a lot to do with Dominic Mysterio.
Yeah.
And I think ultimately Dominic Mysterio and Liv Morgan are both rivals of Rhea Ripley. Whereas Damian Priest, we still haven't seen him get his hands on Finn Balor. I think that's the story there. I also think that, like, WWE on some level, I think they know that Rhea Ripley has the potential to be the biggest star in the industry. Like, and we have had, Becky Lynch, at the height of her run as the man, was the top star in the industry.
No question.
No question. And I think they've hit that gold again. They've struck oil, and they've got, with Rhea Ripley, the potential of having the top star in the industry. And she's a female, and I think that part of that is she should be winning as often as possible because people believe she should be winning because that's what she gives off, and people want to see her win.
I agree with you on all fronts, but my question is, now with Rhea as a babyface.
Yes.
We love the chase for a babyface.
Yes.
We saw it with Cody Rhodes for 2 years.
Yeah.
Finish the story.
Finish it.
And it was so much fun. It captivated all of us. And there's just so much value in the chase. So when do you put the title on Rhea Ripley? Is there still that value in the chase?
Honestly, when do I put the title on Rhea Ripley?
Tomorrow?
Bad Blood.
Bad Blood?
Like
Okay.
literally at the next pay-per-view. Because I'm sitting here, right? A lot of people are saying, I want to see CM Punk and Drew McIntyre in a Hell in a Cell. I want to see Liv Morgan and Rhea Ripley in a Hell in a Cell.
Yeah, that'd be great.
I would probably, if you told me you can have one Hell in a Cell match, I might tell you put Liv and Rhea in the Hell in a Cell. Give me another, I want another Drew McIntyre and CM Punk match. We'll
But
get
if
there
you
in a
get
second.
one,
If I get
that's
one
your
Hell in a
match.
Cell, yeah, that's probably the Hell in a Cell match that I want because I want Rhea to have that moment. Like, Rhea is not like most champions in the sense that you're right. Most of the time, if you've got a good guy champion, the chase is really, really important.
Sure.
Rhea Ripley is the eradicator. Rhea Ripley happens to have become a babyface, a good guy, a hero.
On her own.
On her own. Ultimately, it's not because she was doing all like the sort of good guy tropes. So to define her...
Oh, she was a heel that became undeniable.
Right. It was just one of those things like, I'm not going to shows and not cheering for her.
Yeah, I have to.
Right. And you could say to an extent the same thing about Damian Priest. Like the same thing kind of happened where it's like, I don't know, there's something about this guy that I want to cheer. But Rhea Ripley, you're simply not going to boo her. I mean, I think that you don't want to see Rhea Ripley chasing. You want to see Rhea Ripley destroying everybody because you believe she can destroy everybody. Like that's what you're paying the ticket to go see. A lot of times you're paying the ticket to see the good guy finally conquer the bad guy and hoping that tonight's going to be the night that it happens. But that's not what Rhea Ripley is all about. Like, Rhea Ripley is whoever she's in there with, she's going to destroy him. And one of the things that makes the Liv Morgan thing so great is that Liv Morgan figured out a way to psychologically get to Rhea Ripley. Because Liv Morgan physically is not going to be able to one-up Rhea, but psychologically, she can make the promise, I'm going to take everything from you, and she did. She took the championship, she took Dominic Mysterio, and she took the entire faction of the Judgment Day away from Rhea Ripley. She got in her head. But now that that's gone, and now that we're done, right? And you've taken it all. I'm still Rhea Ripley, though.
She is.
That's what you didn't factor in. Ultimately, I'm still Rhea Ripley, and you're going to have to deal with that. And I think that that's the point in the story that we've gotten to. And yeah, I mean, I'm ready for Rhea to be the champion again and just go on an absolutely vicious run, destroying everybody. I mean, go back to WrestleMania. People did not want to see Becky Lynch overcome the Eradicator.
Wild.
People went there so they could see Rhea Ripley retain against Becky Lynch. And that's what they wanted to see.
And these are the two women who you just said, like, at their height.
Yes.
Face of the industry.
Defined it.
Face.
Yes.
I agree with you on Rhea. I just had to ask because, it's like, there is, when you do have this babyface good guy character, there is value in the chase, but Rhea Ripley
is just different. It's just different.
There are different rules when you have someone like Rhea Ripley.
Right. It's almost like you want, and it goes back to you going like, yeah, we all want to see Rhea Ripley beat up Dominic Mysterio. Like we want to see that stuff.
I want to see Rhea Ripley in a match with anybody.
I mean, bro, Rhea Ripley folding Liv Morgan over and pinning her the way it drove people nuts.
Yeah.
And she's just standing there owning it. Like Rhea Ripley, her ability to just own these moments is what makes her, I think, so unique and so special. And it all seems genuine. It all seems deserved. And it's just like to see somebody, because Rhea went from having this run in NXT where it's like, we've got something with Rhea Ripley. Then she came to the main roster and it was almost like, where'd she go?
I know.
You remember. It was like,
because that was right when I started watching.
Yeah.
Around that time.
Right.
And it's like, there's a lot of hype around this girl, but
you saw it in her eyes. It was like, where is she?
Yeah.
And then at some point, she found herself again. And you're like, here we go. And it was like 10 times what it was in NXT. And you've watched this very organic, very deserved ride happen. And you realize, like, there's just so much road in front of us.
And she continues to elevate it with
yes,
each and everything
I would
that
agree
she
with
does.
That. Yeah.
Right? It's like, if we were talking a year ago, it's like, how could Rhea Ripley be a babyface? Like,
right.
Look at all the stuff she's doing with the Judgment Day. And now you're like, how could anybody with a brain boo Rhea Ripley?
I mean, she could main event WrestleMania.
Yes.
That's the category that she's in.
Yes.
And she could do it, not to take anything away from Becky Lynch, because Becky did it on a card that Brock and Seth were on, that Brian and Kofi Mania was on that show, so that was amazing too. But when has wrestling been this competitive when it comes to that roster?
Mm-hmm.
And the fact that Rhea stands out like that is a pretty remarkable thing. Fifth match that we're talking about, CM Punk, Drew McIntyre, strap match. And this was wild to think about. CM Punk's, he came back in November of last year. Wow. This is his first televised victory in a WWE ring in well over a decade.
And you have to remind people that multiple times because it's like, really? He's been back for so long.
Yeah, he's just been kicking ass since November, right?
I keep forgetting.
Yeah.
Like, he's been so involved in our lives and he's been so involved in this rivalry that I tend to forget that he actually hasn't had that many matches at all. He's had two.
Well, three, including the Rumble.
Three, yes.
After tonight, 3. But yeah, 2 before then. Yeah, and I thought what's really cool, though, is that after a Royal Rumble and the SummerSlam match, I don't feel, and maybe I'm wrong, but I don't feel like people are sitting there judging from a place of like, oh, can he still go? Does he still got it? Where's the ring rust? He hasn't been in the ring. It's almost like, well, yeah, of course CM Punk's going to wrestle. He's a wrestler. And you're like, it's amazing that we've almost gotten to the point where we're taking it for granted that CM Punk is in a WWE ring. This is literally the unthinkable happening. And I try to remind myself every single time we see Punk, it's happening.
Because it feels so right. It's
Yeah.
just like what Heyman said to you. This feels right. He
Right.
believes it.
Right.
But it does feel right.
Right. Like it was destiny. Like
Yeah.
this is the way it was always supposed to be. And that he's involved in this story where it's like, the story is not CM Punk is back.
No.
The story is a story that we've literally been following since January of this year.
It's so good.
It's so good. Now, I love the strap match. Felt old school. We don't see a lot of traditional strap matches, especially with the corner posts and everything. I very much like that it took Punk multiple GTSs to get to all four corner posts, right? I think that's good for both Punk and for Drew, and that he was able to pull them off. I loved that after hitting, I think it was the third turnbuckle, he hit him with another GTS just in case, and then went to the fourth turnbuckle. And I did think it was time for Punk to win the match. I also think this is one of those matches where it's like, I walked in, right, and I turned on the show, and it was in this afternoon here in the States. So I'm watching with the kids, and I told my son, hey, we might see blood in the CM Punk Drew McIntyre match. Forever, it was like, no blood. No matter what, no blood. But and it can be overdone. There's a lot of times blood is unnecessary, and it's like, let's just save this for special occasions. But going into this match, I was like, there should be some blood.
A little bit of blood.
There should be a little bit of blood based on what this rivalry has been, based on what the stipulation of this match is. Convince me that a strap match is as dangerous as you're telling me it is, and that these two hate each other as much as you're telling me they hate each other. Somebody should be doing some bleeding. CM Punk did a little bit of bleeding. I thought it added to the story.
I think you're absolutely right. It added to the story. Also, to add on to that, I was very happy for you and your son to experience this moment in professional wrestling where your son said to you before the match, but Dad, I like both of these guys. And you were like, that's okay. Sometimes you like them both.
Yeah.
And you sit back and you get to be entertained by this awesome match. And that has, a testament to the storytelling that both Drew McIntyre and CM Punk have been doing, and a testament to like their careers, right? And how much respect that they have with the audience. But you couldn't not have blood in a match that's become this personal, that's gone to this level. I mean, we had on Raw CM Punk beating Drew McIntyre with a belt for 2 weeks straight. I thought we were going to see more of Drew McIntyre beating
We saw it in the
CM
beginning.
Punk.
Yeah.
Yes, in the beginning. But and the blood added.
Yeah, I think so too. So I like also Drew tapping out to CM Punk's sharpshooter, which I like it when stuff like that happens, because for storytelling purposes, you can say, well, Punk tapped out Drew McIntyre, so he would have won. And I would come back at you and say, wow, Drew knew that this wasn't a submission match.
Wouldn't
So
have tapped
he
if
was
it
just,
was-
yeah, exactly. He knew if I tap right now, he'll just let it off me,
Yeah.
because what difference does it make? So I always like when stuff like that happens. Go ahead.
I liked when Drew, at the prime moment,
Yeah.
brought the bracelet back.
Oh, right out of the tights too.
Took the bracelet out of the tights.
Oh yeah.
And reminded everybody what
Had all
this
that
is.
sweat. You know what kind of sweat was all over it, all that sweat.
Gross. A lot of grossness. And CM Punk is still like, give me that.
I want the bracelet.
And I'm like, no, not like that.
Yup. And that was another let him cook. You're going, well, where's the bracelet? Let him cook. It'll be here.
They're going to get it.
It'll be here.
I'm so surprised that bracelet has not broken.
I know. And I swear, I thought it was like a storyline prop, and the fan who made it has been on Twitter going like, I made that bracelet, right? Like I literally
Crazy.
gave that bracelet to Punk at WrestleMania or whenever it was. But yeah, the fact that it made it through this entire story. Couple of things I liked about this. I thought the strap match as a stipulation adds significantly because the story's not over.
No.
Like, the way a sleeper hold on Randy Orton is definitive enough that unless Randy Orton becomes a complete villain and goes crazy and RKO's Gunther a whole bunch of times, that story's been told. Gunther beat Randy Orton. He was the better man. In a strap match, Punk won the match via the stipulation of the match.
Mm-hmm.
But he didn't pin him.
And now we're 1-1.
And yeah, not only that, but we're 1-1. And the victory that Drew got was a special guest referee victory. Again, a little bit different from just a straight up victory. So I like that this story clearly continues. I think we have one more big Punk Drew match still to come. I think we'll get other matches. I think that this story, I think the hatred between these two lasts forever.
It has to.
It has to, right?
I mean, we've been on this ride since January. It has to.
There's no sort of...
Nobody forgets this.
No.
We don't move on from this. We don't bury the hatchet.
No.
This stays with you forever.
Forever. There's no sort of, okay, you know what? You were the better man. Let's shake hands on... Why would you ever shake that man's hand for either one of them?
Get out of my life.
Get out of my life forever. I hate you. Not you.
Today.
Yeah, so I think we've got the one more, and then the sort of ongoing story of the two of them moving on to other stories, but always having this sort of omnipresent, by the way, I hate that guy thing over their head. I do think that it is a good thing that the bracelet is out of the picture. I think that now the fight can continue on just between the two of them and their rivalry. I thought that, and not because I didn't enjoy the inclusion of the bracelet, I thought it was being memed too much. I thought the memeing of the bracelet, people kept memeing about the bracelet, talking about the bracelet. I care more about the bracelet than this championship or that championship. Like, the symbolism of the bracelet is what we're fighting over.
Family.
Yes.
It's about his wife and his dog.
Like
and
Vin Diesel. It's always about family.
You don't talk about a man's wife.
Or
and you don't talk about a man's dog.
Right.
And those are the rules.
So I think that it's what I would have liked to have seen. It's what I liked seeing. The bracelet being taken back. CM Punk has that. He feels fulfilled. CM Punk can show up on TV and go, yep, all set. I'm good to go. And Drew McIntyre can now show up saying, I'm not good to go. And Drew doesn't have to steal the bracelet back. It's not about the bracelet. It's about the fact that he hates CM Punk. And who knows, in all the interviews, including the ones that I did with Drew, he's talked about how far back this goes and has kept saying, we don't need to get into the details of that, but it goes back far. And there are people who, I guess in Drew McIntyre's book, it is, like, the CM Punk stuff is mentioned in there. And it's real. Mm-hmm. Like, and this book came out way before CM Punk was back in the WWE. So it's a real thing, this stuff that was going on between the two of them during Punk's last run. Maybe that stuff finally comes up and Drew McIntyre speaks about it literally on the road to whatever their last match is. Yeah. Like something, or it's just, you didn't pin me, you didn't submit me, well, you tapped out. Well, I wouldn't have tapped out to blah, blah, blah. And we finally get that definitive victor. But I feel like going into Bad Blood, like we said, we got all this stuff, and that's just based on Bash in Berlin. I want to see Drew and Punk have their final confrontation. Mm-hmm. I want to see Liv and Rhea have their confrontation. I would like to see Hell in a Cell. That is what I would like. And I think it's time to do Finn Balor and Damian Priest,
I love that.
Which is, and then
Kevin Cody.
Yeah, and I want to see Kevin turn and have the first Cody versus Evil Kevin match. I do want to see that. Oh, this show has left us with so much juiciness to go off of. And what is it, like October 5th or something like that for Bad Blood, which puts us 6 weeks after Bad Blood. CM Punk has been back for a year.
And there's got to be something big for that 1 year, right?
Right. Like, do we culminate the Drew Punk rivalry at Survivor Series because it's CM Punk's year back? Is that when we see the Seth Rollins CM Punk confrontation? Because that's when it started. Do we just have, CM Punk versus Dominic Mysterio? I'd pay big money to see that match.
Of course you would.
Although CM Punk might be handed another loss, and that could be tough. Because Dominic is hard to beat. Unless you're Rhea Ripley. Then it's a little easier.
Dominic, very hard to beat,
Yeah.
He's gorgeous and it's distracting.
So for you, that was the real highlight of Bash in Berlin, Dominic Mysterio and his aesthetic.
Yeah, and the mustache and being gorgeous. No, I think it was the crowd. Like, these international crowds are so good from start to finish. They don't run out of gas. They keep the energy up throughout. I think if I have to pick a match, it's Cody Kevin. Because
Interesting.
I've just been waiting for Cody to have a story that we could really latch onto.
And you feel like...
And I feel like we got it. I mean, we're getting it.
We're getting it.
It's happening.
Right. So you felt like even though you didn't get to see the turn you wanted to see, the steps are there.
Yeah, and I was really bummed when the turn didn't happen initially because I think we as humans are wired to say, I want that now. Like, now. I need this now. But this is going
like
to make
JG Wentworth. It's my money and I want it now. But you don't get all your money when you do it that way.
cash now.
I have an annuity.
I need cash. No. Anyways, I just feel like after processing it, when it didn't happen, I'm waiting for Cody to hold up Kevin's hand and Kevin holds up Cody's hand. I'm like, is this it? Is this it? And when it didn't happen, my initial, knee-jerk reaction was like, what a waste.
Yeah.
And then when I really sit back and get out my feelings in this Notsam studio, like we do on these emergency podcasts, I realize that this is actually better.
That's what it's all about. Unpacking the feelings, putting them in the right places, and going, okay,
It's like wrestling therapy.
That's what it is. Let's talk about our feelings and realize, these...
Unpack them.
Right.
Emotions are layered.
Emotions are layered. And feelings are important. And let's acknowledge these feelings like we acknowledge our tribal chief. But, that's right, the OTC. But use our feelings properly, put them in the right spots, and realize we just had a hell of a show. For me, man, I want to say Punk and Drew because of where it could be headed. But I love that Gunther-Randy match, man. I love that Gunther-Randy match so much. It went beyond my expectations, and I had high expectations. The fact that Randy is going at the level that he's going at this far in, it's the best Randy Orton. And the fact that we almost lost him as a wrestler, the fact that his career was almost over, and not only do we get Randy back, but we get this Randy back that can main event and give us a main event like that. We are blessed. We are blessed as wrestling fans, aren't we?
It's amazing. I also love, Randy at his age doing what he's doing. It's like, you see Tom Brady doing the TB12 diet and avocado ice cream, and Randy's like, Nutella. And that makes me like him even more.
Right. I love that. That he's not like, at this age, I want to start to slim down. He's like, no, I'm going to get as big as a house.
Let's go.
Yeah, and you're still going to see my abs, by the way.
Let's go.
It's awesome. Make sure you follow Megan across social media on Instagram. Where can they find you on Instagram?
At Megan Morant, WWE.
Yes, you can watch us on Raw Talk every single Monday night on Peacock. Subscribe to the YouTube channel, Notsam Wrestling. Subscribe to the Notsam Wrestling podcast. Anywhere you get audio, leave reviews, interact with the content and everything. And we'll be back with another episode of Notsam Wrestling on Monday morning. Thanks, Megan.
Thanks, Sam.
See you then.
See ya.